Hello, Internet, and welcome once again to the Free-to-Play cast brought to you by MMOBomb.com, your home for all things free-to-play related. I am your host, Mike Byrne, aka magicman, and this is episode 306, recording on July 25th. You're watching it on the 26th or later. We've got a lot of rapid-fire round news to get to. We've got some loot box updates from our friends across the pond. And we're going to take a little bit of a retrospective look at the last 5 years. Joining me to go on this crazy journey, Mr. Jason Winter. How are you?
I'm kind of tired, actually. Just sleepy.
Wow, after that, high-key introduction, you just,
brought
brought it to a screeching halt. Also on the line, Ms. Quinlan Bowers. What's up, Q?
I feel like I'm underwater with my headphones doing the shit that they're doing right now. It's just like you're talking to me through bubbles.
That's a little bit weird. What's going on with the headsets? Are they breaking? Are they dying?
No, I have this really weird ass setup because I can't. My PC is finally here, but I cannot bring it in the house because the apartment that it was in was infested with bed bugs, and I'm afraid that if I even try to clean it and bring it in. So instead, I'm just leaving it out there and slowly over the next 5 months, I guess, buying new parts to build a new PC. So I'm using a Chromebook and a USB, and I think that the Chromebook just doesn't like having this many USB things plugged into it.
That would be, yeah, burn it with fire. Burn it with fire. Let's slide over and get started with the news. All right, so we've got rapid fire round going on here. A lot of little bit of news things, no real big news things over the last 2 weeks. In fact, last week it was so little news things that we did not do a cast. It just kind of would have been forced and boring as hell. But this one is guaranteed to be more entertaining than last week's show, because there was no show last week. So Jason, I think math-wise, it has to be more entertaining.
It's going to be infinitely more entertaining.
Yes, it's going to be twice as much entertainment. Wait a minute.
No, because twice 0 is still 0.
Yeah, wait, the math doesn't work there.
Okay, let me handle the math.
Yeah, you can handle the math. Rapid
wow,
fire.
And the words.
Basically, got a little snippy.
He did. Ironic, because I was a calculus major. But that's fine. Let's go ahead and get started here. So let's talk Torchlight Frontiers first. Not a ton of news has been coming out of Torchlight Frontiers. Some update news, like what they're going to do with pets and some new options with your companions and things like that. All good stuff for Torchlight fans, I think. I haven't read anything yet that makes me go, ugh. But we did get this most recent piece. By most recent, it's about a week old now, because we didn't do the show last week. And some of their plans around, Jason, the most important part, arguably, how they plan to monetize the game. And take us through some of their plans here.
Yeah, so the crux of the article, as they say, of course, they want to be very gentle with monetization. They don't want to have pay to win, which everybody says.
Yep.
Which I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say they're wrong or anything, or they're lying or whatever, but everybody says that. It's like, you might as well say we're going to have characters in our game, and we're not going to be paid to win. You know, that's it. But anyway, so Max Schaefer, who's of course the head guy there at Extra Games, he said most of the good stuff is in the free track, talking about rewards in the game. We want it to be very gentle with monetization. We don't want this to be a pay-to-win game. We don't want you to feel like you're at a point where you can only progress if you pay. That's not how you get a good long-term dedicated audience. Which, like I said, that's all the basic stuff that you expect, but you got a little. Some of the other stuff they mentioned was a little interesting that I thought, and I don't know if you want me to get into that now, or you're going to lead into it.
Well, let's talk about this first one here, because to Jason's point, there are, while that is generally great to hear. Granted, tempered with, we always hear that. But while that's genuinely great to hear, there were kind of some things in the article that we'll get to in just a second that had us go, But on this topic, just as a whole, this is the type of game that I've always struggled with when it comes to free-to-play. Because not only do you have, typical MMORPGs doing free-to-play and selling cosmetic stuff and this and this and this and this, I've always kind of struggled, and I think developers struggle with this one too, when you have this type of ARPG, dungeon crawly, looter shooter, type game, struggling with that whole free-to-play aspect, because the crux of the game The gameplay itself is based around the idea of gather up as much cool shit as you can, go back home, dump it off, go out, and do it again. Repeat ad nauseum to infinity, ad infinitum, if you will. And I think it's things like Destiny. I know they're not free to play, but Destiny 2 is going to be shortly here. At least have a version of it that's free to play. We're seeing some problems with Anthem, trying to balance the monetization aspect, even though you have to pay to get into that game, with the crux of the game, going and grabbing those things. So I think this is good news coming from them. But besides Path of Exile and Warframe, who else does this right, Q? And this fits right in the mold of gameplay styles, as Warframe and Path of Exile do. Really, all they got to do is model that, right?
I suppose. I mean, the thing about it is, though, right, when Torchlight was first announced, God, I don't even remember how many years ago at this point, it was originally intended to be this.
Yeah.
Or some variation.
Yeah,
of
they wanted
this
a free-to-play MMO type game.
Right, under Perfect World and everything. And I wonder if maybe the delay was literally, part of it was literally just them figuring out how to do this. Like how to make it get that monetization portion, whatever, right. So they just went, well, screw it, we'll just make a buy to play a single player game a couple of times while we figure this shit out. And on another note, Jason's list of, things that developers say that they have in games that you always have in games. I do recall a game telling us that they had walls. So
there's a whole video based on it. A whole video.
We have walls.
Yeah. Jason, I do think it is a delicate line with this type of game. Would you agree? I mean, you don't want that feeling of the cool stuff is behind a paywall. But you also need to make money on it. Another game that I think fits in this vein that has struggled with this a little bit and has had to fine-tune some things along the way would be Dauntless, where the core gameplay is go out and get it, but if I can't get it without paying, then is this really the type of game I want to be playing? It's just such a different beast from like an MMORPG.
It's so funny that you mentioned Dauntless, because that's what I was going to bring up a little bit by saying, remember when they said, oh, you can only get the cool items by earning them in-game, but we're also going to sell outfits in the cash shop. So we always had that question of, well, what do you mean then? Like, that was something we struggled with early on. But I think in general, like you said, PvE, it said, you can team up with other people, but kind of like Path of Exile, kind of like Warframe, it's kind of a single-player game. You're probably going to do a lot of it alone. So getting stuff that you can, having a skin where you look fancy isn't that great when most of the time you're going to be wandering around alone. You're going to be in your base, I forget what it's called, your fortress, Fort Knight. I don't know.
Your fork knife.
Fort? Okay.
Yeah, your fork knife.
Your fork knife, yeah. When a lot of that stuff is not so much, hey, look at how blingy I am, look, so you don't necessarily buy the stuff so you can show it off to your friends as much. That is a kind of a tougher sell, I think, in general.
Yeah.
But again, you look at games of how Path of Exile and Warframe have done that. Just copy that. And Max Schaefer, being familiar with them, I think he's actually going to be a guest at ExileCon. Like he's being flown in to be a guest at ExileCon.
Well, now they have no damn excuse.
Yeah, he knows about Path of Exile. Let's put it that way.
Path of Exile 2, though, it is a lot of people paying for the blingy stuff. That the only time anybody else actually sees it is when you're in those little hubs.
Yeah.
For a short amount of time, and then you run off and you do your own thing. So the only time anybody's seeing, and it's not just like like the skins or whatever, but it's also the abilities to make your abilities look cooler and stuff like that, which really only you see for the most part, like because you're using them out in the field or whatever, and not hopefully not in the city.
As I understand, I think that people spend a lot on in Path of Exile is storage. Inventory. So
that too, there's a lot of that.
Which makes sense for this type of game.
Right.
So a few other things in the article before we move on. Jason kind of teased them a little bit earlier. Just had us scratching our heads a little bit. I'll read the quote, Jason. You tell us how head scratchy you got on it. It does state that, quote, you'll never be able to pay directly for items or experience points. Now, to be clear, those are the articles, right? The person who wrote the article, not Max Schaefer actually
Right.
saying that. So it's a bit of a paraphrase based on, the way they answered questions. That's a little weird because we all kind of thought, well, there aren't many games that flat out sell you experience points. There are a couple, the Conqueror's Blade being one of the most recent ones we've seen in Jason's first look. But we do see things like experience potions, boosters, that type of thing, 25% XP for a week. And does that mean we're not going to see that type of stuff? Again, it's not Max Schaefer saying that, but it is a weird inference to make from talking to Max Schaefer. I can't imagine we wouldn't see those types of things in this type of game, Jason.
But now as I think about it, though, I don't think a game like Path of Exile has that. Like to take an example, I don't think you can skip leveling, which is fine in a game. I suppose most of the games that tend to have those kind of leveling bonuses or whatever are the games where it's crap until you get to max level. It's just grinding through various zones, whatever, MMORPGs. The raids are at the max level. That's what you want to get. Whereas these games, especially Torchlight, having the different frontiers with different levels and so forth, I guess it makes a certain amount of sense to not allow you to skip that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the whole point of the leveling experience is to do it over and over in each frontier. On that front, they're looking at about 60 to 80 hours of linear content right now. When it's all said and done, they are looking at some competitive aspects, killing a boss the fastest, a PvP system, but those types of things, Schaefer kind of just said, we're throwing things up against the wall right now. So they're not, something we're probably not going to see anytime soon. So we'll have to keep our eyes posted on this. Moving on in the rapid fire round, SWTOR will give you the old expansions for free when Onslaught, the next expansion, comes out. So you'll be able to get all those previous expansions for free. Jason, while I am not going to look a free gift horse in the mouth, this does seem like one that's like, why wasn't this like every, 2 expansions ago is free with the next one? Sure, this is a lot of great content for people that maybe didn't buy the expansions, but if you didn't buy any of the expansions, I don't think you're still playing. Like, you probably left the game. That's why you didn't buy them. So it's a good deal, but not a great deal, I guess is the way I look at it.
It makes you wonder, though, with this and with the other free stuff that free players are getting, it's like, do they need new players that much? Like, are they having some issues here and there? You kind of wonder about that a little bit.
Yeah, because they got the hot bars and all that stuff in the last little patch.
I will remember, like, way back when Disney bought Star Wars, when they announced they're going to be episodes 7, 8, and 9, I speculated that we were going to get a new Star Wars MMO around the time, the end of that. That was my wild speculation. I was like, maybe now. SWTOR's a little struggling a bit. It could be Galaxy.
It could be Galaxy. So you're going to pick up Shadow of Revan and Rise of the Hot Cartel, where previously you you were given it free, but you had to have an expansion or a subscription, right? That's the way it worked. I think the you didn't have to buy it.
Subscription gave you access to everything.
Right.
So it was free with an asterisk. That was actually in their press releases.
Right.
Oh, I remember that.
But this is actually free.
Q, not going to do it for you, huh? You're not going back to SWTOR at all? It just...
Back?
Well, I mean, like, create an account, maybe actually play the damn thing.
It's a BioWare game, which I never play, and it's Star Wars, which I could give a crap about.
I guess that's as direct an opinion as you're ever going to get on that one. I don't know. Star Wars is one I always tend to jump into, but to me, this doesn't, and I think to many who play it like me, this really doesn't make a big difference because when we go to play Star Wars, we sub up for a month or two and play it. So we already have this stuff from subbing. But on the Apex Legends side of the world, Q, if you cheat, you might be in for a hell of a match next time, huh?
I'm so amused by this. I mean, I'm sure somebody's.
I don't think they should have said anything. Before. I don't think they should.
Yeah, it should have just happened at some point. But it's basically, if you cheat, there's 2 things that could happen. One, they can try to ban you, but it's a free-to-play game, so there's really nothing stopping you from making a new account and coming right back in. I guess unless they do IP bans, but still, it's not like you're necessarily playing on the same computer every time. And the other option is to just match you with other cheaters, which sort of takes the whole point out of cheating.
Yeah, you kind of
I
lose.
mean, unless it's a competition on how you cheat.
I guess now though, Jason, these companies, that make these aimbots and different things like that can now advertise, like highest win rate aimbot in Apex Legends, us, buy now, because we will know the best aimbot around, won't we? I really believe, Jason, they should have kept this quiet, like not tell anybody, and just did it. If they weren't going to ban somebody outright. I do see some of the argument, though, coming from people that is like, why? Just ban them. But then the counter argument is it's a free-to-play game. They're just going to create another account anyway. So let's just screw them over a little bit into trying to not want to use these aimbots and things like that. So do you like this or not? Q and I are totally on board. We think it's hysterical.
I mean, the same argument applies, though, if you're if you're in there, if you're a cheater and you're in the cheater realm or whatever. Again, you can make a new account and just play with that. So I don't know if that much really applies into it. But in general, didn't some other game do this? I want to say like Grand Theft Auto or Online or something like that did the same thing. There's some other game that put cheaters into a match of their own. So it's not a new thing.
Oh, no, it's not a new thing.
It was. I was thinking, but I couldn't remember who did it, honestly.
Yeah, some other game did that as well. I don't know. I guess I wasn't as amused by it having seen it already. I'm just like, yeah, okay.
Yeah, I didn't think it was. I didn't think it was new. I knew there was somebody that did it, but I don't remember.
You asked my opinion, and I'm sort of mad about it. So there you go.
I love it. I love it. Have fun, gang. Cheat till your heart's content, and as long as you're being matched up against cheaters. I mean, don't cheat till your heart's content if you're not, because then it's cheating. I don't think it's cheating anymore if everybody's doing it. So
they could actually create their own competitive league of cheaters or something.
Right. I mean, nobody would be safe, right? I mean, aimbots, everybody, shooting through walls and clipping wall corners with bullets and stuff. I mean, there is just absolutely no cover in that type of game mode. As soon as you log in, shots are being fired all around. Whatever. It'd be fun to watch. I think it'd be really fun to watch a match or two. This not on our side of the oceans yet, but Lost Ark did reveal that it is adding its new assassin class. It's going to have two fates, one for Blade and one for Demonic. One kind of tempts fate by really unleashing the power of demons, and one is kind of the eternal struggle with demons. I'm using the power, but trying to keep it down. Does seem a bit interesting. I dig it, but Q, are we ever going to see this over here?
I have no freaking idea. I mean, I kind of assume at some point they would like whatever money they would get from players over here, but then you have the entire, how long do you wait to put it out to the point that nobody's actually interested in playing it anymore? So
this is definitely one that our own Zach Sharps is enjoying, or did enjoy when he played in the betas and did a first look video for us, and he can't wait for this to come out over here. I think if it does, Torchlight might have a little bit of a problem because it's same gameplay style and gameplay loops, but totally different style. And if you're one of those people, Jason, that back in the day was like, WoW is too cartoony for me, well, so's Torchlight, and you're going to play Lost Ark, so there could be a bit of a challenge to Torchlight.
I don't know about that. I never really liked WoW's art, but I do like Torchlight's.
Well, there you go. I got some comments from the viewers that I think are funny on this one. Classic WoW will have re-released up through Lich King before we get Lost Ark in the West. That one coming from Sad Boy. Rickshaw looking forward to it. And Borahel saying only 2029. So start the clock now, 10 years. Although, Jason, if I would have asked you 4 years ago which one comes to the West first, PSO2 or Lost Ark, you would have gone with Lost Ark. You would have gone with Lost Ark.
Thing 4 years ago?
Oh, yeah. Lost Ark has been a thing of various names for a long time now.
All right, if you'd have asked me probably something like, if you'd asked me if Fortnite would have been out yet, or PSO2, I probably would have said PSO2 at that point.
Oh, speaking of Fortnite, we might have a prediction go wrong. We've been doing well this year so far. It is possible we got a little bit of a taste that possibly Fortnite Save the World could go free before the end of the year. There's been some stuff in the data mining very
You'll notice
interesting.
Mike said we, so I'll blame this wrong one on him.
There you go. Hey, I always said I think it was going to be free until at the end of this year. There's a cast where I say that when we reviewed those predictions. Other little data mine things before we move on. Apex Legends got data mined for some audio, and we might be getting a portable respawn in Apex Legends.
Yeah, I mean, based on the audio and everything, I'm pretty sure it's more of we're getting a portable respawn. That's just my guess. I don't feel like you would put the money into creating the audio for something that you're not planning on putting into your game. I feel like that's the last thing that you spend time on. So,
which means we'll be getting it shortly thereafter in Fortnite. Moving on. Anything Apex Legends does, Fortnite likes to do. What else we got? Oh, Life is Feudal went free to play. And if you're saying Life is Feudal was already free to play, well, you're right. Technically, they had that little trial thing. We never covered it as a free-to-play game, much like the same way we don't cover WoW. And whichever of you keeps commenting on Star Wars The Old Republic posts that if we cover Star Wars, we should cover WoW. No. No, 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 no. No. Just because you have to buy the expansions, but you get the entire base game for free, that is very different from being able to unlimitedly play up to a certain level. And Life is Feudal used to do the same type of thing. There was a newbie island and some limitations on it. It was more trial, so we never covered it. But Jason, it is now converting to free-to-play.
Yep, you can get off Newbie Island, you can go and you can get your second job, apparently. That's how a YouTuber, who I used most of his video to try and get an idea for how this all worked. That's what he said, basically, that he enjoyed it. He put in, like he said, thousands of hours or whatever it was. But it was to him like a second job. It was very grindy, very very hardcore, basically. It takes a lot of time, a lot of effort to do very well. Needed multiple characters to get everything out of it. So, definitely give it a shot if you're tired of those theme park hand-holding, quest hub to quest hub kind of games. Jump right in. Just expect that you're going to be it's going to be an uphill battle most of the way.
Yeah.
Both ways, uphill both ways in the snow.
In the snow. I asked Zach, I haven't received an answer yet, if this was something he was going to play because he's really into the sandbox MMORPGs. And so if he was going to play it, I was going to have him do a first look because I don't think this is one that actually, a true first look, jump in for the first time and do a video on it. I think it would be kind of really boring as hell. This is one you've got to sink some time in. So we'll find out if Zach Sharps is going to play it for a little bit, and he's going to get some progression going in it, see if he'll do a first look, because it doesn't make sense for jumping in for a 15-minute, this type of grindy sandbox game. Speaking of that, Jason, you got a first look coming up for a game.
Yeah, eventually.
What game? Just
Eden Rising.
Eden Rising, and we've got a key from the Eden Rising team, so we'll do a little bit of a comparison on what you get for free and then what you get when you buy their Adventurers pack. And then I'll be doing Romance of the Three Kingdoms if it ever freaking launches. They sent out 7 press releases and it still hasn't launched. It was supposed to launch yesterday. So, bunch of first looks coming. Stay tuned for that. Before we move on, Q, I'm going to turn this one over to you. The Orville experience. What's going on here?
Okay, so I was busy chilling on Twitter, and of course I follow Seth MacFarlane. I know Jason hates him, but... and he retweets a tweet from one of the executive producers of the show that's basically something to the effect of, we didn't make this, I can't technically promote it, but I play the hell out of it, and it's the Orville fan experience from Messy Desk Interactive, who apparently just really like to do these things, and they're literally recreating the Orville, so you can explore it. And it's not just oh, you get to go hang out on the bridge, okay, and say in STO, when you're on a ship, you go to the bridge, and then it'll direct you down this hallway to, and to engineering or something. You can explore the entirety of the ship, although they're still working on some areas of it. But it's all, you can also my brain is saying replicator because Star Trek.
Star Trek.
You can basically, replicate things and put them in the environment. Eventually, you're going to be able to have a full crew. You can create your own character. Aside from exploring the ship, you can fly the ship, and eventually you'll be able to go to some of the planets and everything. So it's basically
do
kind
little
of
missions and stuff.
yeah, I think they're planning on trying to make it like a full-blown game, but they're just starting with you can get your butt on the Orville, which made me super excited. And Jason, was like, well, they'll probably just quash it since it's not an official thing. But I kind of feel like if Seth is tweeting it and he is literally Fuzzy Door, that as long as Disney Fox doesn't come in, we're good.
And that's where I think we might have a problem, because Disney Fox is known for getting in.
Right.
So, Jason, I think there is a little bit of a concern here. Obviously, they're not making money on it. It's free to play. In their early access on Steam, it says they intend to always keep it free to play. Will they try to put monetization in the future? I don't know. It's pretty bare minimum right now. Like Q said, you can explore the ship. There's a little bit of multiplayer as far as like shooting arrows at each other. But they do want to put missions and things like that. But I think, Jason, it is a valid concern on how long does this stay open.
I'm sorry, I was browsing the internet last 5 minutes. What happened?
Okay. Moving on. Let's go to our next piece, loot box update. Now, this, I'm going to warn you, we talked a few weeks ago about a few UK officials chiming in saying their personal opinion that they didn't think loot boxes were gambling and stuff, and we asked the question to you of, does that help EA's case in trying to fight against some of this stuff on the other side of the pond there? Well, now the UK Gambling Commission has actually chimed in, and Jason, while it's pretty much the same point, this is now a more official source actually saying it. We're not getting some bloke's opinion.
Yeah, well, the bloke before was like the digital minister, so that's somewhat of someone.
Wasn't a bloke, actually. I think it was a woman.
Well, it was a
wasn't
lady. Yeah.
It's like a blokeette.
Blokeette. That's a great term. Go ahead, Jason. Sorry.
But yeah, a couple of people from the UK Gambling Commission also weighed in saying, no, they're not gambling. But as one of them said, there's unquestionably demand for a secondary market when he's talking about things being resold, even if that sort of thing isn't legal, which is something else he brought up, which is basically, if this sort of thing is against your terms and conditions, game companies, what are you doing about it? If this isn't legal, what action are you taking for people who are buying FIFA cards or Counter-Strike, CSGO stuff? What is Valve doing for that sort of thing? And if you're not, actually taking action against those kind of people, you're kind of approving of this.
Yep.
So you guys need to take some better action. But no, these other things, as the current laws are now, they're not gambling. He says they look and feel like gambling, that legislation would tell you are not, but they are not. They are not gambling, but they are a lot like a lottery. So it's to me, the way I sort of look at this is sort of like the gambling commission guy just saying, not our job. Someone else take care of it.
I was going to say, that's the way it feels. It feels a lot like, not our job, but somebody should do something about this.
Yeah.
Because they were like, there are concerns. There are significant concerns. And if they're not going to self-regulate, then maybe somebody should regulate, but it ain't us. And that's really the vibe I got off of it. So we'll see how this all pans out. Before we head over and do the weekly bombs, Jason did a little retrospective piece last week about some things that we were kind of mad about 5 years ago, and some other fun little tidbits. He did one a little while ago when we were celebrating E3, talking about some of the announcements made at E3 10 years ago. And I totally forgot about this, how angry people were when it looked like Perfect World Entertainment was going to buy Digital Extremes, the company behind Warframe, and how it was going to go pay to win. It was going to do this and this and this and this. Then as the sale progressed, they ended up with 3% of the company. And so they really didn't have a stake in anything. But that caused quite the brouhaha at the time, Jason.
Yeah, people got angry about me writing an article about people being angry, so that happened too. But 5 years ago, like you said, Digital Extremes was only 3% of it was purchased by Perfect World. The other 58% was bought by whatever the Chinese mining corporation, which became Leu or was owned by them or whatever. Which of course that completely ruined the game too, being owned by some random Chinese company. I mean, Warframe is crap now. Nobody plays. It's pay to win. I'm joking. Please. But yeah, it's like what I've gone over time and time again. Just because some company is bought by some other company, even if it's some random anonymous Chinese company, doesn't mean that it's going to completely go to hell. Look at Grinding Gear Games. They were bought by Tencent, like a year and a half ago. Path of Exile still going along just fine. Not all pay to win. Everything is just fine. So chill out, everyone, chill.
Q, 5 years ago, we got our first look at Fortnite. Not Fortnite Battle Royale, but Fortnite Save the World. And we were all pretty excited about it.
Were we?
Well,
I honestly don't remember.
It wasn't our first look, but I was excited. I was seeing actual video of it.
And not talking about our first look video. We got
our
eyes on it for the first time.
I mean, I honestly don't remember. It was 5 years ago, so...
It's Fortnite Save the World. Everybody knows about that version of the game, right? How things change. Jason, you, 5 years ago, actually got some hands-on time. It was a little... I think Mike B got his impressions to you first, but then you got your hands on it later. Gigantic. And it was one that, to be honest, you were kind of keeping your eye on.
Yeah, Gigantic. I got a chance at PAX South 2015, it's like 6 months later. But yeah, when Mike B did that video and about how he actually got there, so they flew him up to their studio or whatever, which can't imagine the expenses they paid on all that as well as everything else they spent money on. They probably shouldn't have. But yeah, they showed it off, and I thought, wow, this looks really awesome. And then I completely forgot about it until then Overwatch came out, and that basically sucked all the air out of it. So.
Yeah, then they decided it was going to be Windows 10 exclusive. 10, yep. Then they were bought by Perfect World after it looked like they were going to shut down. And
they laid everybody off.
And then they brought them all back. And then Overwatch came out, and it was like, oh, shit.
See, this I remember because Justin was part of their, he was one of their... ambassadors or whatever they were calling him. He was one of those, and he talked about it all the time, all the freaking time, and then suddenly it was like, yeah, I'm just not dealing with that anymore.
Yeah, they flew him and about 30 other people down for that PAX South thing, a full 2 years before they wound up.
Well, he did a couple of those events for them.
Okay,
like he was at their booth.
Yeah, I know. That's where I met him. I met him.
Yeah, that's I mean. Gigantic and Battleborn both kind of got thrown into the same bucket there and just got crushed under the Overwatch train, more or less. They had other reasons, too. I mean, it wasn't just Overwatch stabbed them both, but that certainly didn't help. 5 years ago in July, H1Z1, remember that? That was like a title 7 titles ago, for those of you keeping track of H1Z1 and H1Z1 Battle Royale and Z1 and Daybreak Games, or its 900 subsidiaries at this point, based on their filings for patents. H1Z1 got snow, and that was actually a big deal.
It got snow and some screenshots, and I think has never had it actually in the game, so...
We were excited.
Surprisingly, John Smedley teased something that never came to pass. Shocking, I know.
Hey, nice shirt.
Thanks.
I
didn't even realize that I was wearing this.
I'll give you $100 for it.
Yeah. I'll give you early access to my shirt. You can have it in a few years. You get like a sleeve.
I don't want early access to your shirt. I don't want it. I don't want it. John Romero in July 5 years ago said that free-to-play has killed 100 AAA studios, and by my count, not only is that number inaccurate, there do seem to be quite a few of them left, Q.
I don't know the logic on that. AAA games and free-to-play games are like two completely different beasts, and I'm totally going to roll out and spend some money on a AAA game if I really want it, so...
Hey, but he did say also that thankfully free-to-play games no longer use dirty monetization. Where he got that idea from, Jason, even 5 years ago, I'm not sure.
I mean, back then, I think we were getting to the point then where that was when we started hearing the not pay to win from everybody. At least the direct, pay money to get a cool sword thing. They even back then they stopped doing that, but then they had to find some other way to make that money, and now we have loot boxes. So
Yay, loot boxes. All right, let's slide over to the weekly bombs. Q, you're up.
I mean, this should be pretty obvious. So I'm giving a bomb to the Orville fan experience, and Seth actually tweeting it to everybody in the first place with a tentative A-bomb to Disney Fox if they decide to shut it down. And how weird is it to say Disney Fox?
It is a little weird. Jason, go ahead.
Disney Fox sounds like the latest pop star or something. I'm giving an A-bomb to Defiant Development shutting down. They're an Australian dev studio. They made the Hand of Fate games. Cute little roguelike.
Yeah, that was like
sort
the
of
dungeon DM
Yeah.
thing with the cards, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I got to demo them at another PAX South, Hand of Fate 2. They showed it off to me there when I was there a few years ago. And being Australian, of course, they handed out Tim Tams at the show. So that's when I got my first Tim Tam, which was good, but I don't think quite as fantastic as a lot of people have let it on to be. So,
I think the moral of the story is if you're a developer, do not let Jason play your game at PAX South.
or that too. Yeah, that's true.
Because if he plays your game,
Gigantic.
if he plays your
Although
game at PAX
also, Life is
South,
Feudal. I did at one of those shows.
you're doomed.
I was just saying, if you're a developer, you can bribe me with food. Look, this is some popcorn the Perfect World sent me around the time of Christmas.
Oh yeah, I still have that too, man.
I haven't opened it yet.
I still have it.
Perfect World sends me nothing.
I'm gonna give a dub bomb to DCUO coming to the Switch in August. I think that's actually a good place for it. I probably should have capitalized Switch. But an A bomb because it's not cross-platform or even cross-save, so you gotta start over and enjoy. From the viewers, Misfit Rain gives 2 da-bombs this week. First, da-bomb for Amazon, picking up the new Lord of the Rings MMO. I've alpha-tested New World, and I hope those graphics or better are in this game. Was so pretty, mainly the foliage. New World going on redesign or whatever state it is scares me a little that it might be canceled also. I have a feeling it may be. If it does, that gets me worried about the Lord of the Rings doing the same if it does not get the recognition they want. Second, da-bomb to Bless Unleashed. I'm doing this to piss Troy off. I was beta testing it on Xbox, although I don't know much of the game. I absolutely love the music in the main city at the start. So did I. Made me start tapping my feet. You can just hang in the city and feel good about the game for once. I took part in the last beta for that one. And I gotta say, much better than Bless. I agree with a lot of the... I still don't know if I'm sold on it. There were aspects of it, like it kind of felt flighty, and the action combat wasn't as responsive as I would have liked, but those are the types of things that can be tweaked. They're not, hey, I hate the combat in this game. So we'll keep an eye on it. Jason, go ahead.
I'm hearing that. Is it basically Bless a Realm Reborn? Is that what Unleashed is?
No. I mean, it's an entirely different story. I mean, they're not even going for the same vibe. The combat's totally different. It's not. No, it's not.
Okay. PN Musta says Lord of the Rings game with Black Desert Online combat would be cool. Also, copying levels and questing from Guild Wars 2 wouldn't be bad either.
How do you feel about that? Do you still dig like the leveling and questing the way it was done in Guild Wars 2? Looking back now, years later, with your max level character.
I would, just that I wish they could have done. I mean, they were a little unprepared, I think, for the number of people you'd have in some events. Like,
Yep.
you can't build a boss that's good for 10 people to take on. That's also good for 100 people to take on. Or if you do, you get like one of those out per year or something, maybe. And yeah.
Yep. Go ahead, Q.
Turin Horse. Oh, please. Amazon will make a good Lord of the Rings MMO because Lotro is mind-numbingly boring and shallow trash.
Hey.
Edit. I'm being restrained and kind there.
Well, for a game that came out in 2007, you know.
Yamikami, I actually not a big fan of Lord of the Rings. I watched the movies, they were okay, I guess. Frodo and Sam are totally gay, as are all the elves, and everything makes no sense. The world also has nothing special to offer. You got your generic elves, dwarves, smaller and more useless dwarves, known as hobbits, humans, of course, and so on. I wish I could get a new setting for an MMO that is actually good. I love the Star Wars setting of the Old Republic, but that's pretty much all the game had to offer. I loved WildStar for its half high-tech, half junk tech and magic setting. What I'm saying is, make Warhammer 40K online, goddammit. They tried to do something along those lines. really didn't work. Well, it was also EA was behind it. And technically, it wasn't the 40K license; it was the Warhammer license. But we'll see. I would love a 40K MMO.
Someone tried. Well, they tried to do that 40K that like battle game that like Planet. It was gonna be like Planet's Eye with an open world where you battled all over the place. Then they ran out of money and had to make it just instance based, and nobody liked it. So.
Question of the week last show was, given that the Amazon Game Studio announcement about a Lord of the Rings Online MMO with Leyu, how concerned should fans of the current Lord of the Rings Online be? Misfit Rain chimes in here too, saying the current fans of Lotro should only be as concerned as they are excited for the new Lord of the Rings game. They are the ones that keep it alive. If they're excited to play and switch, then Lord of the Rings will absolutely fail. And I think that's kind of a fair opinion, Jason, to say, hey, if there's enough to pull that audience, then it's going to fail. If it doesn't pull that audience, but it pulls an entirely different audience, then Lord of the Rings Online, license withstanding, or not excluded here, may just keep trucking along.
I mean, maybe it won't be the same as Galaxies, which I tend to think wasn't that big of a crossover from Galaxies to Old Republic. I feel like people who liked one didn't necessarily like the other, but...
Go ahead, Jason.
Pelatuokio TV says, Lotro might need to come out on consoles to have that extended lifespan. Yeah, no. Any MMO benefit from console release. To be fair, Lotro never going to come out on consoles ever. Okay, good. He agrees at the end.
It's never going to happen.
Good job.
But there is the point of, if it did, you'd bump your audience, at least for a little while. Go ahead, Q.
That Harv guy, how long do they have the Lotro license? And everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're fine. All fine here now. Thank you. How are you?
Love the Star Wars reference worked into the Lord of the Rings. Everything's perfectly all right now. We're fine. We're all fine here now. Thank you. How are you? Love it. Love it. Question of the
What's
week.
your identification number?
All right. Question of the week this week. What games or trends in games do you think we'll be talking about during the next 5 years? And Jason, Q, and I came up with some really awesome ones when we were batting this question back, and some of them were ridiculous. Q, I'm sorry, Secret World Legends, 5 years. I wish we were, for your sake, we'd be talking about. They haven't updated anything except current recycled events.
For my sake,
but we're gonna
do you know how much torture that is?
We'll be talking about how that closed, but. Let us know in the comments below. While you're there, don't forget your weekly bombs. Dub bomb for something good, A bomb for something bad. It could be in the world of gaming or just in the world in general. And if you've got a question for the panel, put it there too, and we'll bring it to next week's show. Until then, Q, where can everybody find you?
Hanging out on Twitter at Quitland.
Jason.
On Twitter at Winter Informal, streaming twitch.tv/JasonWinter.
I'm Mike Byrne. You can follow me personally right there on Twitter at magicman1, but more importantly, follow at MMOBomb so we can tweet at you all the latest news, articles, giveaways, interviews, previews, first look videos, free-to-play cast, free-to-play weekly, and more. Until then, stay safe, and we'll see you out on the servers.